Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I'm going to be planting some seeds. So, have a lot on the go already, but I've kind of been procrastinating with planting these seeds, but I think it's a little better if you plant them a little bit later in the season anyways. So, I got a couple categories of seeds. So I got these seeds, which I'm going to be starting like in containers in my greenhouse. And I got these seeds, which are a little more cold hardy, that I'm actually going to be planting directly in the garden bed. So I got these King Tut purple peas. I've grown them before and they're really cool looking. Like the pods are purple. The peas themselves are big, but the peas aren't purple. But if you cook with them, it'll make the water all purple, and like if you add it to dishes, it can be like a kind of a food coloring. So yeah, so I'm excited to grow those again. I'll probably actually end up planting these in the herb garden, because I was originally going to use it pretty much strictly for herbs this year, but I think these are a unique enough kind of a plant that can just be planted right in there. And I got this St. John's wort, which is a herbal product. It's a medicinal herb that can be used to treat depression and all that kind of stuff. So I haven't actually grown it myself, but it does grow wild around here. So it's pretty common to find them in pastures and stuff. I even found them growing in the backyard a couple of years ago. But it's actually good to plant native plants around here because they help the native bee populations. So it's just good to have them in your garden if you want native bees in your garden, and it makes them a lot happier. So, and it's also good for other pollinators too. So, also got this blue chicory. So I think that's like the wild chicory, I'm pretty sure. And it grows wild around here too, so that's a nice native plant. So I'm going to plant this in my herb garden as well, because it's a good herbal product too. It's like the roots are commonly used as a coffee substitute. And yeah, I'm not sure if I actually tried actual chicory root before, but I really think I'll actually give it a try this year. So yeah. And these plants I'm going to be starting in these containers. The common mint. Have lots of mint growing already, but this is actually going somewhere else. Like, believe it or not, I don't actually live here. I actually live in an apartment building right in town. And so I do a lot of my gardening, come out here and do a lot of my gardening out here, because that's where my greenhouse is, that's where my garden beds are. And so, but I'm going to be growing this mint to take home to my apartment, and I can have it on my balcony once it gets warmer. So, and I think I'll have a mixture of this marjoram for here and there. I don't think I've grown marjoram before, but it's actually very closely related to oregano, and I have that already, so I'll probably plant it near there. It's a good cooking herb, and I've used it for tea too. Like, you can use a lot of culinary herbs for tea and they just taste good. So here's some basils, bunch of basils. So I got the sweet basil. I got the holy basil, which is like also known as tulsi. It's another kind of, it's more used for tea than culinary anyways, although the brand is Culinary Selection. So yeah, they just say culinary just so. I think tea is a little bit foreign for a lot of people if they want to make herbal tea, so just they recommend to use it in cooking. And this package of seeds, I actually found it in a container that I bought at the thrift store. It was just sitting in the bottom of the container, and it looks like a very old seed packet, and the words are really hard to make out, like they're very worn away. But I don't know if you can see, this says sweet basil. So that's the same as this kind of basil. So Whether or not these seeds will germinate is a whole nother question. Like, I believe it comes like in a foil kind of a packaging, so it's like aluminum foil on the inside, so maybe it'll keep them fresher longer, I'm not sure. So we'll see. I'm going to be mixing it with this basil anyway, so I won't know which one is the actual one that comes up. And I think I'll combine this holy basil with it, because basil's basil in my opinion. It's kind of hard to tell the difference. Like, I grew both varieties last year and I was having a little bit of a hard time telling you the difference, so I'm not even really going to bother because they look the same anyways, and they probably cross-pollinated is what happened. So I got some makeshift containers out of just old yogurt pots and like fruit cup containers and stuff, and poked holes in the bottom. And I used these for other plants before, so that's why they're dirty. And I'm just going to reuse these again to plant more plants in. So usually they recommend like washing them down and stuff like that, but I don't really think that'll be necessary. Like, I've grown plants in dirty containers before and haven't had much issues. So. I also got this old kind of a broken flat 9-cell flat. It's pretty rough shape, but it'll do the trick for now because I don't have any nicer flats. So I'll be planting probably the marjoram in here, the basil in here, and I'll use this pot just to plant a little bit of mint to take back to my apartment. And this is my potting soil I'm going to be using today. Cheap kind of a potting soil. Works pretty good for, it says tropical plants, but it works good for basically any kind of plant, really. Now, it's just a matter of filling these pots. Someone's parked over there. Starting to rain a bit. Might want to keep, oh, okay, the seed packets are getting wet. I don't know if you can see, but it's all wet now, so maybe I should just plant them all. Maybe I should get a bigger pot for them in so I can plant all the seeds. That's 200 seeds. I need to get these out of the rain. Maybe under this shovel for a while. Okay. Drop that all in there. Should be good for a little bit of marjoram. I don't think I need a heck of a lot to start with, but just a few plants, maybe a few seeds in each cell, and just keep all the seeds without thinning them out kind of thing. Use multiple pots for this mint, I guess. So you may have noticed that I actually have this plastic bag around the pot. And the reason I do that is to collect the water, so that if I ever brought it inside for any reason, it won't drain all over the floor. It'll just catch in the bag, and then it'll also act like a water wicking system, which will then keep the soil moist longer as it wicks up more water once the top layer of soil kind of dries out. So that's just a little strategy I came up with. It's a lot cheaper than plant saucers and more readily available. Like, just buy a pack of 100 bags and just, I do that with most of my plants in my greenhouse actually, just because it's more convenient. But I think I'm going to get a few more pots for that mint. Okay. Okay. Looks good enough. So first things first, gotta water them in. I'm gonna set this to shower, I guess. Just water them in until the soil's nice and moist. Usually they recommend watering ahead of time, but it's really only necessary if the soil's super dry, because it could be a little bit hydrophobic. But this soil isn't too bad. It's nice and kind of moist already, so all the soil gets wet pretty fast. Okay, now we can plant our seeds. So first I'm going to try out this old package of sweet basil seeds. And I'll probably plant a lot more seeds of those in each cell, because they might not even be very good. Like, I'd be lucky if some of them germinated. I have no idea how old these seeds are, but could just be a little rain damaged. I'm not sure. Okay. There's the seeds. Not sure if you can see them very well. Not very many seeds in there, so that's good. Won't take up all these cells. But I'm just going to gently move the soil out of the way. Oh, it's a little wet still in there. You know, it's okay. I'll just water it again later once I get the seeds in. And I'm just going to sprinkle a few seeds in here. A few seeds in here. And again in here. Doesn't have to be in an exact depth. Like, once you water, it'll kind of even out anyways. Some of them can even be kind of on the surface. It really doesn't matter. They'll all grow. Well, most of them will grow. These are good seeds anyways. Alright. I'm going to plant my newer sweet basil seeds. Got these probably 2 years ago, so they should be relatively fine, I would think. There's a lot of seeds in there. Package is wet, so I'm probably going to have to plant them all anyways. And since they're a little older, not all of them will germinate, so it'll probably be fine. Sprinkle a bunch in there, and in there, Maybe I'll sprinkle a little in the other cells just in case those other seeds were complete duds. Okay. I want to save a few of these cells for the holy basil. Still got a bunch of seeds left, so I don't know if you can see. Have to decide what I'm going to do with them. I don't think I can put them back in the package like this, all dirty and wet like this. They'd just be sprouting in the package. So I just thought of an idea of what I can do with these extra seeds. Since basil is a common known companion plant for like peppers and tomatoes, I think I'm going to just plant a few basil seeds in with these peppers so they'd have some companions to help them grow better and deter pests and whatnot. I'm just going to kind of scrape up the soil right here. Be careful lot growing here because it's more the merrier, I think, when it comes to basil being companion plants. And there's some peppers in here too, so I'm just going to kind of throw some in there. Maybe in some with tomatoes too. Not going to worry too much about really burying them good. But definitely some will come up, so that'll be good enough, I think. So I'm just going to kind of roughen up the soil around these peppers. Just kind of get the seeds partly buried. Tomatoes too. Oops. Oopsie. Sorry. Gotta be careful. You don't want to break them. These are pretty strong peppers. Like, started them pretty early, probably about mid-March. Yeah, maybe even earlier. It's May now, so oh, there's a seed on the leaf. It'll grow there. Okay, so I'm just going to water these in now. And once you water them, then the seeds will kind of get buried anyways. So if I'm lucky, I'll have some seeds come up and be companions for those peppers. Should be good enough. So now I'm going to plant the holy basil, the Tulsi tea, which looks different from regular basil, but when I grew both holy basil and regular basil last year, they looked exactly the same, and they didn't look like this, so I'm almost wondering if these are a misidentified seed or if they just crossbred and to make them look the same. I don't know. But these could be older plants too. Maybe these are grown in a place where they survive all year round and they could just be older and more detailed, I guess. I don't know if you can see, but luckily there's not a heck of a lot of seeds in this package, so I shouldn't be wasting any. Should definitely fill those remaining cells up a lot easier, I would think. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of take up this soil. These seem to get watered a lot better than the other ones. For the most part. These are older seeds too. Probably about the same age as the other basils. I think I bought them at the same time, but plant multiple seeds and sell, you're guaranteed to get at least a few come up, and then I do believe that the more abundantly you sow, the more abundantly you'll eventually harvest, so just plant them all if you got them all, I guess. Not let them expire, wait too long to plant them and have them go bad, because you can save the seeds from them each year anyways, so why would you even bother having old seeds? Like some years I plant some seeds just in case they don't take, and I can plant another round of them if I plant them differently. But if I'm saving them for years on end, they'll eventually not be as viable, I guess. And if you save the seeds each year from the plants you just grew, like I haven't really been one to save seeds, but this year I am definitely going to make a great effort to save a lot of seeds, because seeds are so expensive in the long run, and they're free if you just take the time and effort just to harvest them, basically. So I'm just going to close these up now. It's kind of easy to tell because most of these fruit cups here were the holy basil, and most of these, well, some of these yogurt cups were the sweet basil, so pretty easy to tell for the most part, I think. Okay, got that done. I just need to water it again. Water the seeds in. Water closer. Oh, don't want to wash them away. Maybe I'll change the setting. Okay, change it to a fine mist. So, I got to close this one up here. Yeah, it looks like this soil is a bit hydrophobic. It's not really getting wet underneath really well. But it will once it gets used to constant water. One time I had some cactus soil that I could not get watered as hard as I tried. Like the water would always sit right on top of the soil, and I was wanting to water my seeds in, but they weren't getting watered because the soil was repelling all that water. So eventually I had to take that soil out and then like soak it in a bowl of water and knead it in with my hands, and that's really what's normally recommended anyways, to do that. Okay. Should be good. Okay. Basil is planted. Now I'm going to move on to my marjoram. So the marjoram seeds, where are they? Underneath here. They're a lot smaller than the basil seeds, so it's recommended they go right on the surface because I think they need light to germinate. So I think this seed package is a little more water resistant, so I think I could keep these seeds. If I just put it in a dry spot, it'll dry out and it should be fine. So, but I'll be planting them, probably direct sowing some in the garden later on anyways, once it gets after the last frost. Okay, so here are the instructions for this marjoram. It says to start seeds indoors. Surface sow and gently press seeds into soil, light required for germination, which I thought that's how it was going to be. So I think the seeds are really tiny, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, they're pretty small. There's a lot of seeds in here. So I think there's like, how many seeds does it say? 800 seeds in this package. So obviously I'm not going to plant them all in this 9-cell container, but definitely some. And I'll probably plant more later. Like I said, I'll probably direct sow, even though it doesn't really recommend it. But once it's after the last frost, I'm sure they'll be fine if I sow right in my garden. Should be good. Okay, so I'm just gonna lightly sprinkle these seeds over the soil. Just like that. Like that. Try to get every cell. Try to get it as even as possible. Now I'm just going to press it down, gently pat it down. And obviously for this one, I'm not going to use a strong setting on the sprayer, but I'm just going to gently mist it like that, just so the water comes in contact with the seeds and sticks to the soil. And that should be good. So I'm just going to set this aside, put it in my greenhouse later. Now it's time to sow the mint seeds. This is the common mint. I think there's pretty small seeds too, much like the marjoram. I don't think they're as small. There's quite a bit less seeds in here than the marjoram. That's okay, because I think I could get a pretty good amount of seeds in each of these pots. But yeah, they're pretty small too, I see, so I think I'll just surface sow these as well. It's usually recommended with tiny seeds, especially tiny mint seeds, is to surface sow them. Marjoram's actually a mint as well, believe it or not. Lots of herbs are mints, like sage is a mint, and thyme is a mint, and lavender is a mint, and oregano is a mint, and tons of herbs are actually mints. Basil is a mint, rosemary is a mint. They're all in the mint family. Same with like lemon balm and catnip and all that good stuff. Just kind of shake the rest out. I have to rip the seed packet open for this one because it's kind of wet and they're kind of sticking to the package. And like before, I'm just gonna gently mist them in like so. Pat them down a bit so the soil's more compacted. And there, now I got my basil, my marjoram, and my mint all planted. And now I'm going to direct sow those other seeds in my garden. So now I basically got to find a location to plant these seeds that I'm going to sow in place. So over here, already got a lot of perennial herbs kind of sown here already, just starting to pop up. So for the most part, this spot is already kind of taken with a lot of stuff. They're not completely vacant. Leave right around here sort of an empty spot. But there'll be a lot of herbs intermixed anyways. So it's just finding basically what kind of herbs you want to intermix. Like I could easily even plant some herbs in between these sage plants, which are that came back from last year. So there's not a heck of a lot going on here, so I could plant some things there. But for the peas, I'm going to want to plant them right along this wall because there's this netting, and I've grown peas on this netting before, but I don't want to plant just peas here. Like I also have my butterfly peas. I have a few of them coming up. They didn't all germinate, but yeah, it'd be nice to have some butterfly peas and maybe some sweet peas as well. But also I would love to have some morning glories on here. I just think that would look beautiful in the sunshine against my herb garden. And I'm not sure what else I'd put here. Other vining plants. Possibly I have one passion flower seed that actually germinated so far. They've been taking months to germinate. So I'm not going to leave the passion flower out here permanently because it's not hardy to this zone. But if I keep the passion flower in pots and just put the pots along this wall, and then I can let the vines, if they get to that stage, climb up here as well. And then once it gets cold again, I could kind of cut those passion flowers back and bring them back inside for the winter kind of thing. So yeah. And I got other plants planted in here anyway. So here I got some milkweed. So that's not really a herb. You can't really, it's kind of poisonous actually, but milkweed is great for monarch butterflies. And I guess here is just on the very cusp of their range. So if I plant milkweed here, there's a good chance I could possibly get some monarch butterflies show up, which would be very special. Here I got some Echinacea, which is actually an excellent medicinal herb. Here planted, I believe, some milk thistle, which is another pretty good herb. And here, I believe I planted hyssop. I'm not sure if it's come up yet because it's all under the mulch. But I'm sure I'll just have to wait a little while longer because it needs that cold stratification period anyways in order to wake up from dormancy. So imagine pretty soon they should be starting to pop up out of this mulch. So anyways, I'm going to plant my peas now along the wall there. I'm not going to plant all of them, I don't think, just maybe every 12 inches maybe. Just so I have some peas and then I can plant other plants, intermix other vining plants in the middle, so that's what I'm going to do. So peas are actually an excellent plant to start like way before the last frost. But I'm starting these a little later than I normally do. Normally I start them like last week of April and now it's the first week of May, but it really doesn't make a difference. Like any time up until the last frost is a good time to plant peas because they need that cold weather to kind of, they don't need it, but they do better in it. They're pretty hardy. So let's see these peas. A lot of people soak their peas beforehand, but I'm not going to bother with that. I've had good success just planting as is. Here are the peas. You can see they're kind of actually a brown color because they're dry, I guess. There's a good amount in here. Maybe like 35, I would guess, maybe. So I'm not going to plant them all, I'm just going to plant some of them, and then, because I only want a few peas along here, I don't want this all taken up by a whole bunch of peas. So, yeah, so with peas, basically it's pretty easy. Just poke holes in the soil, maybe a foot apart. Like if you were planting a bunch, you'd want them 6 inches or less apart, but I'm just going to basically plant just a few. Some plants in the way already, but that's okay. I'm gonna let a lot of my plants fight this year for like compete for space, and I think that way it'll be a kind of a survival of the fittest kind of thing. Like they say they won't grow well that way, but I think whoever wins will eventually be stronger in the end. It's just a kind of a way to look at it, I guess. So just poke holes about an inch deep or so. Oh, there already, looks like. It's beautiful. They've been for pulling the whole piece of plants. I'm gonna pull back the mulch a little bit. Should be fine. So now, it's just a matter of dropping. I'm just gonna do 1 pea in each hole. Because I just bought these seeds just this past year, so should still be very viable. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they all germinated, for the most part. Just drop your seeds in the little holes. Doesn't have to be perfect spacing or exact depth. Because it'll still look good. Because I'll be intermixing other plants with these, so love to put morning glories here. I think that morning glories against some purple peas, that will look really cool. And if I'm lucky to get a passion flower in here, that would be awesome. Okay, get in there. Alright, that should be good. So I got all these left, so I'm just going to put them back in the bag. The bag's actually kind of dried out now, so that's good. Now you basically just kind of press down the soil, not rocket science. Just cover those peas a little bit. Water them in, it'll cover them maybe more actually. Okay, now I'm going to water them in. It's good to water peas for a while because it's good to let them soak a little bit. Once you plant the peas, it's good to stay on top of the watering until they actually sprout, because it's not good if germinating seeds are actually drying up in the process. Like, it's okay to have some dryness in between, but don't overdo it. It's actually just got this sprayer just not that long ago and loving it. It's got a whole bunch of settings on it. Works super well. Just got it at my local general store. Wasn't that expensive, but it's a lot better than what I had, that's for sure. Good to water them in liberally when you're first planting any kind of seed in the garden, for that matter. Okay, I'll do one more pass over with this, and I'm going to call that good. So, I think peas can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to kind of start sprouting. Then they just grow pretty fast from there, and they'll be up the netting in no time. So believe it or not, this blue chicory is actually a type of lettuce. So they say it's kind of in the lettuce family, just like dandelions and just like your regular garden lettuce. Also like wild lettuce too, of course. And so imagine I want to put this somewhere, like, it doesn't say lighting conditions it needs, but I'm going to just play it safe and put it in full sun. But these St. John's wort specifically say on the package that you can put it in sun and partial shade. So maybe in the corner, because I don't have a lot planted there yet. That might be a good place for it. But as for the chicory, I think I might plant him kind of right here. Get a lot of sun there. So, just kind of want to scratch back the soil. Make a huge area because I don't think there's a heck of a lot of seeds in that package. I'm thinking I'll have it kind of closer to the back here because I don't think I planted a lot here yet. So just got to make kind of grooves in the soil just to kind of put your seeds in. Should be fine. So here are the seeds. Not tiny, but they're not big either. So I don't have to surface sow. I think these probably should be sowed right underneath the soil. So I think these little grooves I have would be perfect for that. So just gonna gently kind of sprinkle them in the little ruts in the soil. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and then you just kind of cover up the soil, cover up the seeds, I mean. So that's done. Our kink in this hose is kind of flowing a little lower. What's going on here? Okay, now it's working fine. So you don't have to water these as much, I don't think, as the peas, because they're just a regular seed. They don't need as much moisture, so that's probably just fine. Now as for the St. John's wort, very pretty flowers. Like I said, they make a good tea, and it's actually a very common antidepressant, which is good for a lot of people, but keep in mind it can interact with a lot of medications, so if in doubt, just ask your doctor. Scratch back the soil. There's a lot of plantains growing here, actually. Wild plantains. So they really like this spot for some reason. I think because the soil's just so compact here, and it gets a lot of shade, and just a moist spot for them. But I think the St. John's wort will compete with them just fine in here, so better to have something than nothing. Looks like these are in a smaller package inside. Looks like a decent amount of seeds in here. Might spread this multiple places in my garden just in case over here is too shady for them, but might put them kind of along between these lilies that were here since the dawn of time, and maybe between my comfrey. Okay, so now it's just a matter of sprinkling a few seeds around. Not sure if you can see them, but very tiny. Not as tiny as the mint seeds, though. I think these are like a type of sunflower, if I'm not mistaken. The sunflower family, so astrids or Astraceae or something like that. I think. Could be wrong. So here's the cage I'm keeping my catnip plants safe from neighborhood cats, because I don't want cats ruining my catnip. So there's a lot of bare spots in here, so I'm just going to sprinkle a few seeds in the cage. Maybe I can have some St. John's wort growing with my catnip. Be a nice contrast, I think. Okay. And I think the rest can kind of go just anywhere I find spots for them. Maybe in between this comfrey and the lilies. Might go well there. Just throw them kind of anywhere. I'm sure some will take. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope you enjoyed your time. Till next time, happy growing!